Stillman College, good morning. It is Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. This is our second virtual chapel, and I want to think about three words for us in this second week of our restrictions. Let's call them three W's for the second week at Stillman College. The first W is the word worth. I want you to remember that you are worthy and that God created you with inestimable worth. Psalm 139 verse 14 says that you and I are fearfully and wonderfully made. God has crafted us. God crafted us in our mother's bodies. We are made by God. We are blessed by God, and we are endowed by God with wonderful gifts. You and I are worthy. We are worthy because God made us. We are worthy because God created us. We are worthy because God loves us. And so we should never forget that. We should never let our guards down. We should never treat ourselves as if we do not have worth. We should not engage in certain activities with other people because we feel like we need them to give us worth. You are worthy. You are worthwhile. You are wonderful. There is no one else like you. You are unique. You are gifted. And you are fantastic. And most importantly, even when you make mistakes, even in those moments when you're not exactly fantastic, you are still worthy of love. God loves you unconditionally. You are worthwhile, and you should value yourself. Do not lower yourself to things that are beneath you. Do not crouch down and do things that don't show your worth. You don't need to prove yourself to anybody. You don't need to give yourself up to anybody. You don't need to do anything you're uncomfortable doing to show that you are important, to show that you are loved. The love that you have is intrinsically inside of you because you are created by God. You have worth, you are wonderful, and you should never forget that. And do not let your guard down, and do not let anybody talk you into doing anything that lowers your worth or your sense of self-esteem. All right? So the first word based on Psalm 139 is worth. The second word is work. And that word comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 15, where the Apostle Paul praises God for the grace that has been given to him. But he says that God's grace has not been given to him in vain. And he goes on to say that he has outworked all of the other apostles. And so I want you to remember, because you have worth, because you have been endowed by God with certain gifts, you and I have to work and make the best of ourselves. We have to be the best we can be, and we don't have those things naturally. We have to develop them. They are in us, but we have to cultivate them. They're like muscles in our body. I have muscles in my body, but if I don't exercise them, if I don't do some push-ups or sit-ups or run or get on the weight machine, those muscles will not develop. They will atrophy. They will die. They will be small. They will not have any strength to them. The same is true for you and me. We have worth. We have value. We have gifts. But if we don't work with those gifts, if we don't try to improve those gifts, if we don't study to make ourselves better, if we don't put forth the effort to do the best we can do, then our muscles, our gifts will atrophy. They will diminish. They will be small. So you are valuable. You are wonderful, but you and I need to work. We need to get better at what we are good at. We need to strengthen our strengths and improve our weaknesses. I stayed up last night reading a book, trying to understand an ideas I've been struggling with in theology for 20 or 30 years. I want to understand a particular idea. I want to understand it clearly. I want to be able to explain it. I didn't just go to bed and say, well, I already know enough. I can teach whatever. I still want to improve. I still want to get better. I want to become a better person, a better professor, a better preacher. I want to be better. I want to work so that God will say to me, well done. So that God will say, okay, I gave you some gifts. You worked on them. You developed them. You fell short from time to time, but you put in an effort. So brothers and sisters, you and I need to work. We are worthy, we are loved, and you and I need to work. The last W is worship. When we are discouraged, or sometimes simply because we need to be reminded of who we are and who we are in God's presence, we have to stop and worship. One of my favorite passages is a passage that my father recited all the time, and it is Psalm 34. Psalm 34 says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall magnify the Lord. Do you think about the Lord? Do you remember all that God has done for you? Sometimes you can just simply start listing in your mind all of the good things that God has done for you. Lord, I thank you for waking me up this morning. Lord, I thank you that I have the ability to see. Lord, I thank you that I have the ability to walk into this kitchen and make myself something to eat. Lord, I thank you that I can go through the drive-through and grab something to eat. Lord, I thank you that I can move my arms and my legs. Lord, I thank you that I can breathe. Lord, I thank you that I have my health and strength. Lord, I thank you for the loved ones that are around me. Lord, I thank you for bringing me this far and making a way for me. Lord, I thank you for the privilege of working at Stillman College. Lord, I thank you for the privilege of being a student at Stillman College. Have you ever stopped and just made a brief list of all of the good things in your life? Have you ever stopped and thanked God for all that God has done for you? Sometimes you and I just need to stop and worship at a stoplight, in our rooms while we're in social distancing. Sometimes as you get discouraged and feel bored and don't know what to do, just take out a sheet of paper and start writing down one by one all of the good things in your life, the people who have loved you, the people who've gone out of their way to make you the person you are today. Make a list and thank God for all that God has done for you. Stop a moment and worship. Put life in perspective and thank God for who God is and what God has done for you. All right, those are our 3 W's for this week. Worth, based on Psalm 139. Work, based on 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And worship, based on Psalm 34. Brothers and sisters, stay encouraged. Encourage one another, encourage yourself, and be grateful for all that God has done for you. And let's make the most of this time, even in its strangeness, even in its fear, even in our concerns. Let's make the most of what we have in front of us, and let us be worthy of all of the grace and the goodness that God has given to us. God bless you.